I wanted to talk with you guys about a candid behind the scenes look at what it looks like to launch Creative at Heart. And not so much like our specific launch strategy. I'm happy to answer questions about that, but I'm not going to be kind of telling you like our email sequence, like the email sequences that we use and how far out we start promoting and things like that. I really wanted to do something that was a little bit broader than that because I feel like it applies to all of your businesses. So let me tell you the three things that I want to cover through our coffee chats today. Okay. The first thing is I'm obviously going to talk with you guys about my heart behind Creative at Heart. So give you a little look into why I started the conference in the first place. I get this question a ton, whether it's through like an Instagram DM or in my email. And I thought it would be really awesome to just be able to open up and tell you guys how I started the conference 4 years ago when I was just 10 months into owning my own business and I had legitimately no idea what I was doing. So we're going to talk about that story first in just a minute. I also want to talk to you guys about how we've been able to build a tribe of 500 alumni in just 3 years and how those alumni are now raving fans for our conference. So I want to share actually 4 ways that you can turn your clients into raving fans for your business. You can use the exact same strategies, some of the exact same things that we do and ways that we encourage our alumni and how we've been able to build that base. And you can do it right now, whether your service or product, it doesn't matter. These strategies apply. So we're going to get into that too. And I also want to talk with you guys about how and why we've chosen to host 8 conferences in just 4 years. And what are like the marketing strategies and like the logistics behind that? Why did we decide to host so many in such a short period of time? And we're going to talk about how that actually can apply directly to you and not in a pitchy way of like, so there's more for you to come to. Like, no, about like what does demand look like in your business and how can you build that so that you are able to offer longevity for some of the services and products that you have. So those are the 3 like main things that I want to make sure that we talk about today. And again, I'm open to literally any and all of your questions. If I don't know the answer to a question, I will be very honest and I will say, well, I'm not quite sure, but this is what we do because that's just how I roll. So throw them at me as we get started and I'm really pumped. Okay, so first things first. Let me just tell you guys how the conference came to be for all of those wandering ears out there. So like I said before, I was only 10 months into owning my own business when I launched Creative at Heart. I started my wedding planning company in October of 2013, right after my husband and I planned our wedding. Very cliche, right? Very typical response. And I did go into it with like rose-colored glasses. Like I thought like, oh, it's going to be like J-Lo in the wedding planner. It's going to be super glamorous. And for all of you wedding planners out there, really anybody in the wedding industry or anyone who owns their own small business, you know it's not glamorous, right? It is kind of far from glamorous. There are aspects of it that I absolutely love, right? I love getting to work from this beautiful pink office. I love the flexibility of owning my own company. But owning a business is really difficult. And owning a business can feel very isolating and very lonely. And I realized really early on into my business that I was starting to feel all of those things. So while I loved what I was doing, I loved getting to connect with clients. I was working on a lot of styled shoots at the time to really build my portfolio. While I loved doing all of those things, I was lonely. And I realized for me personally as a wedding planner, and granted, guys, remember, this is back in the end of 2013 and into 2014. So the industry has changed a lot in 4 years. But at that time, like Rising Tide didn't exist. So those Tuesdays Together meetings, if you're familiar with that, and just that like overall community was harder to find for the wedding planning community. So when I started, I realized it was really hard to find community. So I did 2 things. One, I complained. Right? Honest. I complained that there wasn't a lot of community with other wedding planners. I would send emails and try to reach out with other wedding planners and they wouldn't be received as well as I would have liked for them to be received, or maybe I didn't even get a response at all. So I complained to my husband a lot and to my mom and to really anybody who would listen that I struggled with the fact that the wedding planning community lacked community and lacked just the openness that I wanted them to have. And then the second thing I did was I found community with other creatives. I realized, okay, you know what? Doors are getting shut on me in with other wedding planners. So I'm going to go out and find just other small business owners who are willing to connect with me. So I did a mentor session. Like I did a one-on-one session my very first year in business. I attended a conference my very first year in business, and they were not for wedding planners. They were for all creatives. And I realized that while my mentor session was with another photographer, and I don't even own a camera, I knew nothing about photography, she had so much to teach me on the business side of things and on how I could grow my business, how I could build momentum in my business, how I could price myself, even though she doesn't understand, or she didn't understand, maybe she understands more now, the exact services that I offered. She could still help me with basic pricing structure. She could help me with branding and with social media marketing. There were so many things that she could open my eyes to, and she did in that 8-hour mentor session that we had. So I realized, one, I wanted there to be community for wedding planners, and two, I was frustrated that there wasn't community with wedding planners, but I could find it with other creatives. So 10 months into owning my wedding planning business, I selfishly started Creative at Heart, right? I wanted that community, and I felt like, you know what, if I start something just for wedding planners, that's wedding planner specific, that's not going to fit the need that I want. While I do think that there is value in industry specific education, right? Like seeking out another wedding planner, another photographer, another calligrapher, and really learning the ins and outs from industry to industry. Absolutely. There is a space for that, and that is important. But what I saw a need for and what I wanted to fill was the fact that we could learn and grow from so many other industries. We could open up our eyes and say, you know what? I don't own a camera. I don't understand. My handwriting is terrible. I've taken a calligraphy class. Alex from Prairie Letter Shop, I love you if you're out there. It was like, I'm terrible at it. I cannot do it. But I knew that I could learn a lot about business from them. So that was my heart behind starting Creative at Heart. I wanted a space where I could bring in educators from a wide variety of industries to teach a wide variety of creative entrepreneurs. And it was really incredible when I first started reaching out to these educators. It was in August of 2014. I didn't even have a name for Creative at Heart at the time. Those first few emails I sent were like laughable. It was so crazy. We were able to put together our educator lineup and build our first conference in 2 months, build the website. We launched the conference the end of October of 2014, and we sold 40 seats, which was our sell out mark. We sold 40 seats in 2 weeks. It was really humbling for me to like step into that role being so early on in my business. And when I started Creative, I didn't start it for me to educate. I started it for others to find education from these leaders. So like that first lineup for our round 1 conference, they were like the people that I stalked online, right? Like it was selfishly like, who do I want to hear from? Because I know that other people have to want to hear from them too. And obviously since then, as my business has evolved and we've grown this incredible alumni base, we've been able to really figure out, okay, what are other people looking for? Like how can we pour in different aspects of education? And things have shifted. But the heart of the conference sounds bad, but it was very selfishly like what I was looking for in the industry. And I felt like there was a hole, I felt like there was a need, and I wanted to fit that need. So why and how did we do 8 conferences? Well, now we're gearing up for our 8th. So we did 7 conferences in 3 years, with this 4th year now hosting our 8th conference. Like what did that strategy look like? I want to explain to you what we did in case you're not familiar. And then I want to tell you those tips that I talked about for how you can do the exact same thing in your business, like literally starting right now. Okay. So here's what we did. We launched that first conference, and we hosted it in January of 2015. And at that conference, we announced our second conference, which was going to be 2 months later in March. We were crazy. Like I was crazy. When I say we, it's just a nice way of saying me. It was totally crazy to think that we could sell seats again for another conference so quickly after. They were both going to be in the state of Virginia. So it wasn't even like we were all of a sudden going into a different state and trying to hit a different market. But we were able to sell 50 seats for that conference. So we went from 40 person at the first one to 50 people at the second one just 2 months later. At the second conference, we announced our third conference and opened registration for the third conference. The third conference wasn't until that fall, so there was quite a few months in between. However, we sold 80 seats in just 2 hours. It was the fastest selling conference we've to date, we've ever had. Why is that important? Why is that important to you? Well, I have 2 things I want to share with you that I think are really important because they're proof that marketing strategies can work, living proof that what we did worked and worked really well and that you can do it for your business. Building momentum can and will increase demand in your business, right? So when you're creating buzz around a new product or a new service, you don't have demand yet. Okay, you're launching something brand new, or maybe you're saying, you know what, I'm really struggling to book brides right now. I'm really struggling to book clients with services and products that you already have. So it doesn't have to be something innovative and brand new. It can be something you already have. Well, in order to build demand, the very first thing you have to do is build momentum. And that's exactly what we started doing very early on in our business. So we hosted 3 conferences in year 1, 3 conferences in year 2, and then we said, we're going to stop. Now we're going to host 1 conference in 2017, 1 conference in 2018. It's not because we're mean and we all of a sudden wanted to pull back and say fewer seats for everyone. It's because we realized that demand would allow us to fill those seats with the people that needed to be there and also scale our business so that it was sustainable for our family and for our team. Hosting 3 conferences in a year is exhausting. I'll be really honest with you. It's a lot of work. Whereas if we can have 1 conference and really pour into that conference and give those attendees the very best experience possible, we've not only upped our demand to be able to do that, but now we're going to up our client experience. And now we're going to continue to raise the bar for every single conference that we do because we're focused in. It's just like starting out in business. From wedding planning, I had 13 weddings my first year, 25 weddings my second year. And then I scaled back and only did 12 my third year. I built that demand with the 13 and the 25, building that up, and then said, okay, now I can raise prices, I can scale back, and I can do this. So you have to build momentum in order to find the demand that you're looking for. I hope that makes sense to you guys. The other thing that we started doing that I believe you guys can be doing right now is we offered exactly what our clients wanted. We offered exactly what our clients were looking for, but we didn't offer it to everyone. Now, this isn't a mean, you can't sit with us kind of thing. I would love for everybody to come to Creative at Heart. I really would. But reality is we cannot have our mission and our heart is not a heart for a 300 person mega conference. So by saying, you know what, we want to offer exactly what you want. We know the need and the demand that's out there for the type of conference like Creative at Heart, and the type of conference that we have is smaller. And by smaller, it's still 80 to 100 attendees. It's still a lot of attendees, but 100 attendees is vastly different than 300 or 400 attendees. Does that make sense to you guys? So it's not saying dangling the candy in front of the little kid, ha ha ha, you can't have it. It's not saying that to be mean. It's saying that to say, you know what, our industry wants something that is intimate like that, right? That feels yes, there's 80 people or 100 people in the room, but it feels like 30 versus saying now we're going to become a mega conference. So we decided to focus on scarcity, which is exactly what you can do in your business with your products and your services by offering that limited number. It not only builds demand because everybody then wants it because there's only a few of them available, but it then makes it scalable for you as a business owner. Because hey, for those also in the wedding industry, there are only so many weekends in the year. Right? There are only so many Saturdays that you can offer a wedding, or only so many double wedding weekends that you want to have. You have to have some sort of scarcity with that. For those of you that maybe offer coaching, I offer a 10-week coaching program. I only offer 3 of those a quarter because there's only so many weeks in the quarter and so much time that I have to dedicate to my coaching clients. So when I promote my coaching services on social media or my newsletter, they know that there's only 3 of them available. So if they want to be able to purchase, to participate in that specific program, they know the scarcity because of the demand that's there. I hope that's making sense for you guys. I don't want to get like too economics on you with like supply and demand, but it really is business, and it really goes back to like your marketing strategies. Please pop in questions. Seriously, I want to make sure I'm answering any questions that you have in the chat as we keep going through this, okay? There's a third marketing tactic that we used for Creative at Heart that we started using after that very first conference. And I know that you can do it too. And it was, we learned how to turn our clients into raving fans. So rather than just making it like transactional, swiping that credit card and having them walk away, we figured out, well, what can we do to turn them into fans? And let me give you a little background on that. And then I want to tell you guys, I actually have 4 tips for how you guys can start doing that now in your business and how we are currently doing that with the conference. We have been able to host 7 multi-day events and 2 one-day events in the last 3 years, with our 8th coming up. So that's over 500 alumni. This week is actually the perfect example of how we turned our clients into raving fans with these alumni. So with this week, of course, with our conference launching on Tuesday, I had a launch strategy in mind, right? I had a newsletter system in place. Emily was designing graphics for us. We had posts ready to go in Instagram. We had Insta story scheduling lined up. So we had a very clear launch strategy under the Creative at Heart brand. We did not ask or reach out to any alumni to step up and also support that. We did have some Insta story takeovers like under our Creative at Heart brand. So in that sense, like some of those were alumni, some of them were Round 8 educators. But we did not reach out and send out and get influencers or get collaborators and say, hey, can we send you 5 graphics that you'll share with your audience in this time frame? We didn't reach out and do any of that. We did send graphics and sample verbiage to our educators, which we do for every conference launch. We like to give our educators graphics that they're able to share, and then I give them some sample verbiage that they can utilize on Instagram, on Facebook, and in their newsletter if they so choose to do that. And I was blown away that on the days leading up to registration and on the day that our website went live, dozens of our alumni were regramming those graphics and sharing all about the conference when they had not been asked to do so. Our alumni do not receive a discount for attending a conference a second time, even though we have multiple alumni that have attended multiple conferences. Our alumni and those women and men who shared about the conference outside of our educators are not given any sort of benefit to do so. Like I didn't ask them and like plead with them to share about the conference. We didn't give them a discount to come to Round 8 if they shared about Round 8. We did nothing, which sounds terrible to say, like we did nothing. But this brings me to my point. Like, why did they do that? What was the benefit of them to share about the conference and to share so willingly and so freely and to take time out of their day to share about the conference? The benefit was that they have become a raving fan of the conference. For some reason, and we're going to talk about some tactics and some strategies we've used, they have decided that Creative at Heart is worth it for them to continue to share about. How can you do that with your own clients and customers, right? How can you turn them into raving clients and fans for you, whether you're service or product based? We're service based, right, as a conference. And as you can see and kind of tell from what I'm talking to you guys about today, I very much look at our alumni as our clients because they are paying me for a service, which is Creative at Heart. And then I am then asked to provide that service, provide those educators, provide the meals, provide the venue, provide everything that they have then signed up for under the Creative at Heart brand. It's very important. So our attendees, I consider my clients, and I want to serve them and I want to turn them into fans. So I think that they've turned into fans because of 4 things. And I think you can do the exact same 4 things right now in your business. I think the very first thing is focusing on customer service, which sounds so trivial and so silly and actually really simple. But hopefully that is helpful to you because it is something simple. Focus on just email response time with your clients. making sure that they know that you care, that they've sent you an email, you want to respond as quickly as you can. This doesn't mean you have to respond immediately at 11 o'clock at night. No, I'm not saying have terrible office hours, but you can have, a within 24 hour or within 48 hour. Make sure that your email response time is present to them. They know, hey, I've sent an email and this is when I will receive a response. Whether that's through an autoresponder that you have set up, an email signature, just make sure that your clients are aware of when that response time will be so they'll feel more secure. Same thing for like Facebook. And I'm not saying Facebook messages. We actually have Facebook messages turned off for actually all of my businesses because it's super stressful. Too many inboxes to check already. We don't need to worry about Facebook message. But in our Facebook groups, if you have a Facebook group, if your clients are in a Facebook group, maybe you have a Facebook educational group, make sure your response time on Facebook is helpful to them. If somebody asks a question, don't wait a week to pop into Facebook and respond. We've set up some housekeeping tips for my Facebook groups and ask people to tag me so that it pops into a notification and I'm sure that I can pop in there and I can respond and they can see that my customer service really is all about them and I want it to be. The third way with customer service, the third thing you can do is notice things about their business and their life. Be aware of what's going on in their life. With our attendees for round 8, as they were commenting and we were getting tagged, like the conference was getting tagged in things, I'm not only responding to that tag, but then I'm following them through the conference account. And while we won't see them every single day in our feed because, well, the algorithm, at least we know they're there, right? And we can pop in and check in. We can comment on things. When they email us, I can say like, oh, hey, and congrats on that style shoot you just did. I saw it on Instagram and it looked amazing. Or congrats on the new baby. Like we can respond to things in their life and be really personal. And that adds to the customer service because they know that we care and we're really living that out so much in so many different areas of the ways that we communicate and respond to them. The second thing you guys can do right now to turn your clients into raving fans is give them the VIP advantage. Now, I mentioned before that our alumni do not receive a discount for coming back to a conference. So we don't give them a VIP advantage in terms of a discount for the conference, but we do want to give them insider information. So like our alumni Facebook group, they were the only group besides our educators for round 8 that knew our conference was going to be in November and they knew we were only going to host one conference. I popped in and did a Facebook Live several weeks ago and shared that information with them and said, hey guys, I want y'all to have the inside scoop. I want you guys to know first because you're our family, you're our alumni, and we want you to know before anybody else. So our conference this year is going to be in November. We have 40 plus educators coming, so many fun new things that we're doing, and we're only hosting the one conference this year. I wanted them to feel special because they are. So I chose to share and like leak out information just to them so that hopefully they continue to feel really loved and cared for by the Creative at Heart community, knowing that like they found out before anybody else. So what are some ways that you can give your customers and your clients insider information? Maybe it's through your newsletter list. They get to find out about a launch or about a new product in your shop before anybody else. They get a special discount code. Maybe it's even like on your Insta story. You just pop in one day and you say, hey guys, real quick, I know this is going to be gone in 24 hours, but I want to give y'all something insider about my business, something VIP that nobody else knows about, and go ahead and share it. And yeah, I mean, hopefully you'll have, a couple hundred people or however many watch that Insta story, but then it's gone in 24 hours. And if they missed it, they missed it and they don't get that insider information. So think about some ways that you can leak out like VIP and insider information to your current audience and to your current clients so that they feel really loved on and cared for, and it really ups your customer service and ups the fact that they don't just feel like a transaction, they feel like they're a part of your family. The third thing you guys can do that we actually do a lot over here at the conference is listen intentionally and act accordingly. Listen intentionally and act accordingly. You have to know what your people want. Remember when I said that I started Creative at Heart for very selfish reasons? Well, I was listening to the industry in terms of like, I felt like I was being like doors are being shut. So I said, okay, I'm just going to fill this void. I'm going to stop complaining about the lack of community and just create a community event like Creative at Heart. Well, then I realized very quickly that it isn't just about me, right? We have how many attendees that have come to our conference? How many educators are we serving? I need to ask them, and not just ask and not listen. I need to actually listen to what they want and then act on what they're saying. Some of the things people ask for creative at heart, we won't act on. We don't either have the means to act on it, or maybe it's not really within our brand mission, and so we're not able to act on it, but I'm still listening to what they have to say. Some of the ways that we do this, we do polls in our alumni Facebook group all the time. So do some polls. If you have a Facebook group for your clients, for your brides, do a quick poll. Find out if you're trying to figure out your new package or your new service offerings. Ask them. Ask. That's going to make them feel like an insider, because you're asking them, and people always feel so special when you ask their opinion, but then you're getting information, market research. It's so helpful for you. So ask in those Facebook groups. We do polls on Instagram a lot. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, I had 2 different speakers for our round 8, and we were both trying to finalize their specific topic. And so we had a couple different ideas for both of them, but we hadn't solidified one. And I kept going back and forth. I did a poll on Instagram. I didn't say like, this is for the next talk at round 8, or this is for this speaker's talk. I just said, hey guys, I have a poll. Which one would you prefer, branding or blogging? Which one would you prefer, growing your email list or passive income? And I did like 3 or 4 questions in a poll, and it was awesome to get the response and to see that, hey, branding actually beat blogging and passive income beat growing an email list. So those are the talks. Bonnie's doing a branding talk for a breakout session, and Graham is doing a keynote session on passive income. So it was really helpful for me, even as I was doing that, to do a quick poll and see what are people looking for, and then how can I act on the information that I'm receiving. So think about Facebook group polls, Instagram polls, asking in your newsletter list, a short like Google survey, or even saying, hey, hit reply and tell me whatever, and get that response. Even if 8 people respond to you, right? Like sometimes I say that in my newsletter and literally like 8 people will email me back. It's still 8 people. Those are like raving fans that want to tell you, hey, I'm going to take the time and hit reply and tell you this is exactly what I want. And then sometimes you might have 80 people to pull from. And then maybe down the road, you have 200 people to pull from. It doesn't matter. It's still people to pull information from. So ask for that information, listen very intentionally, and act accordingly to what they're telling you that they want. And then the last way that you can really turn your clients into raving fans, and the way that I feel like we've been able to do that with the conference, is be your brand. Live it out in every sense. And I don't just mean like all the pink that I'm saying. That's just, I love the color pink, right? I don't necessarily mean, and I really don't mean it all in the look of your brand. I mean like the heart behind your brand. We want to build community. We want to take time to listen and to care about what our attendees and what our audience asks us. So when an attendee sends us an email and they're no longer able to attend the conference, we do have a non-refundable, non-transferable policy, but we want to listen to their story and their reasoning and then try to work with them as best as we can. We've had attendees that maybe, actually it's happening this year, she was unable to attend around 7. She'd already paid. She'd purchased round 7. Our policy is non-refundable, non-transferable. So I told her that if she was able to attend round 8, I'd love to work with her and offer her a very major discount in order to attend our next conference, even though this was our policy for round 7. And technically I could have just contractually, I could have just been like, nope, it's done. Sorry, non-refundable, non-transferable. We count on these expenses. We've already factored them in. We cannot do anything to help you. I want to help her. I want her to be a part of our experience, to get this tangible, practical education, because that's our brand. So how can I live that out to the best of my ability and really work with all of our clients who are our attendees and do that? Same thing for you. How can you do that with your clients, with your attendees? How can you live out your brand in every way, shape, and form, whether it's through the Instagram captions, responding to Instagram messages, talking with them, meeting with them in person? What can you do that goes above and beyond, that raises the bar for your brand and shows that, hey, you're not only saying that you like pretty weddings on your website, here's how you're living it out. You're not only saying that your business is about intentional marriage, not just the wedding day. How can you live that out? What are some things that you guys can do to really make that so impactful for your audience and live out the brand that you have? And that's the fourth way that I feel like we've been able to make our clients and turn our attendees into raving fans for Creative at Heart. And we're so grateful that we've been able to do that and to do that in kind of such a short time, just over the last couple of years. So that was what I wanted to share with you guys today. I know that was a lot. I'm definitely talking a ton. I went through all my notes, and I'd love to answer any questions. I didn't see any questions pop through, but if you guys have specific questions on launch strategies, on ways that you can turn your clients into raving fans, on ways you can build momentum to increase the demand in your business, maybe how you can start to scale back and offer scarcity for your clients, please feel free to pop them in. I'll probably do just about like 10 minutes of Q&A and answer as many as I can. And then we'll go from there. But feel free to pop any questions in. I'll give it a second in case there's like a little bit of a lull. Shelby, this was so much fun and inspiring. You shared so much amazing info. Thank you so much, Shelby. I'm glad it was helpful. Rebecca, let me read your question. Also funny side note, because you guys have stuck around for so long. I've been wanting to name this Coffee Chats with Kat because I thought it sounded really cute, but now I'm pregnant and the baby hates coffee. So I'm actually drinking water during our Coffee Chats with Kat. So, funny little side note there. Hopefully I'll be drinking coffee this summer when I'm doing this after he arrives and I like coffee again. I don't know, who knows? Okay, Rebecca, let me read your question. Do you suggest starting with hotels or conference spaces or event spaces? How did y'all start? Great question. So 2 answers to that. One, we started in hotels. Our first 6 conferences were done in a hotel space. And then last year was the first year we moved to a true venue, like a wedding venue space. And we're doing the same thing in 2018. Here is pros and cons to hotel spaces. The pro, everything's right there. So it's awesome because you not only, as a conference host, you and your team have access to the hotel staff, and the banquet staff is there to help you. They're handling food service because typically hotels have in-house food and beverage. So they're handling all the food service. They're typically handling a lot of the manual labor in terms of setting up the space, and you and your team get to focus on the pretty stuff. Right? You get to focus on the linens and the centerpieces and the overall decor versus like actually manually setting out tables and chairs, which is awesome. And hotels can be really awesome for your attendees because you can do a hotel block right there. All they have to do is take an elevator up and down to access the conference room, your breakfast room, lunchroom, whatever it might be. And everybody's literally in one building the entire time. So that's just adds a whole another aspect to the community part of it. The biggest con to hotels is their service fees and their event charges. Hotels can be incredibly expensive because they typically require that you use their own food and beverage. So that means that, for instance, some hotels will have like an 18% gratuity tacked on to your food and beverage. 18% is a lot of money when your food and beverage is already at $10,000. 18% of $10,000 is a lot. So those taxes and gratuities and those service charges can add up very, very quickly. So we found that with our conference, because we had so many attendees, our food and beverage costs were a lot because we had a lot of people to feed, right? So it actually wasn't financially feasible for us, and it wasn't going to be sustainable for us to continue to focus on hotel spaces when we could focus on a wedding venue space, bring in our own caterers, get to customize our menus a little bit more, and not have to deal with those crazy food and beverage fees and the food and beverage minimum. So that's like my pro and con for a hotel space. I do suggest to any clients now that I offer coaching for just creatives in general, but I've also done a lot of coaching for those who would like to start their own conference or workshop. And I highly suggest trying to look into a venue and bringing in your own catering. It is more work on your end, but from the financial side of things, it's more sustainable for you. We did that in Raleigh at our conference last year. We had a team with us, a team of alumni volunteers to help with the food aspect of things. And we were so happy with the turnout, not only with the quality of the food that we were able to source and like some of the fun local vendors. We did like a food truck one day and we had a local vendor do our breakfast sandwiches every morning. So it was fun to be able to like help the local community and feel like we were helping other small business owners. But from a cost standpoint, as a conference owner, it was very helpful for us to be able to source it on our own. This year, we're trying to do the best of both worlds where we have a venue, just like a wedding venue, and we're going to bring in all of our own catering, but we have a hotel block 7 minutes away from the venue. Because a lot of our attendees said that while they loved the venue in 2017, they missed the fact that everybody was in the same building, literally like a giant sleepover. So this year, we're trying to do the best of both worlds. So we're hoping that a lot of our attendees will stay in our hotel block that's super close to the venue. All of our educators are staying there so we can all hang out together, but we're at a space that just allows us more flexibility with our catering. And let's face it, wedding venues are typically a lot prettier than hotel ballrooms. So your pictures and your marketing and just your overall creativity will just feel so much nicer in a beautiful space. So good. I'm glad that was helpful, Rebecca. And please let me know if you have any other questions. I saw a couple others pop in. Linda, ideas on how to create momentum. That's a great question. So is this something, are you like newer in business? Are you creating momentum for a brand new product or service, a current product or service? Can you give me a little more feedback and then I can give you like a more specific example? I would love to do that. Morgan, you're amazing. I'm new to your brand and I'm thrilled to have found you. Oh, thank you, Morgan. Do you guys plan to expand the conference to any other states? We have actually traveled to multiple different states. We are going back to North Carolina in 2018. We were there in 2017. Different city, different venue. Just the venue worked out. Like we're so happy with our venue space and the venue has been so wonderful to work with. And that's honestly what drew us back to North Carolina. But we've done Virginia a couple of times, 2 times, Maryland, North Carolina now twice, Tennessee, Denver, which is not a state. It would be Colorado. Goodness gracious. I think that's it. Those are the states that we've traveled to. So we have traveled to multiple states. I don't have like any issues with traveling to multiple states. It's so much fun. It just happened to work out with our venue that we're going to be back in North Carolina. We are typically more East Coast, like we did Denver, which more like Midwest-ish West Coast. I'm not really sure how Colorado classifies themselves in terms of Midwest. And it was great. We had so much fun out there. I do think that the hub for us really is more of an East Coast based, but I'm not saying that we'll never go Midwest or West Coast again. I don't know yet. We'll see. Kelly, congrats. Prayers for you and your little rainbow. Thank you. That's so sweet. I'm loving blue, even though all of this is pink. I'm having a little boy, so I am getting more into the blue side of things too. Let's see, Jessica, this was so great, Kat. You are a great mix of heart and business. Thank you. As a newbie, how or what is the best way to actually build and start the momentum to create that demand? Okay, love that question. This is like my bread and butter. So when you are first starting, you definitely want to build momentum. And I know it can seem redundant to be like, you need to build it on social media, but guys, it's the cheapest and easiest way for you to do that. Because it's free, right? You can create a business Instagram account for free and you can start to get the word out about your business. So one of the things that I want you to think about starting to do is what are you trying to build momentum for? So for example, for me, when I was just starting with Dear Sweetheart Events, I wanted to build momentum to book wedding planning clients. That was the end goal. I needed somebody to want to see me as an expert and hire me to plan or coordinate their wedding. So what I started doing was building momentum on Instagram by posting a lot about behind the scenes work that I was doing. Perception is reality, okay? And I don't mean that to say like you need to be fake. You don't want to fake any business that you have or don't have, but how can you draw out one styled shoot? Like how many behind the scenes can you do for one styled shoot post? A lot. Insta story at the styled shoot. When you are going to visit a venue, even if you're introducing yourself to the venue, right? You're not really there for like a venue walkthrough or for a client. When you're at the venue, take a behind the scenes Insta story. Look where I am today. So excited to be here. It's immediately going in someone's brain. Oh my gosh, she's so busy. She's just at that one venue. I'm thinking about using that venue. So you can definitely build momentum in terms of what you share and how you share things on social media. That's the first step. The second step would be building momentum within Vendor Referral Base. So reaching out to vendors that you would really like to work with and building genuine connections with them. So when I first started, I created welcome packets for 30 vendors and I sent them out introducing my name and my brand and my packages. I chose vendors that I felt like were realistic for me to work with, vendors that I wanted to work with, and vendors I felt like I would receive the most referrals from. So for me as a wedding planner, that was photographers and venues. I did send them to like my wedding florist just because I was so close with her and I wanted to send it over to her. But for the most part, my brides will find me through either Instagram or referrals, and they're booking typically their venue and or their photographer and then coming to me. So I'm getting referrals from those two vendors. So I wanted to build those relationships, and that was a way for me to build momentum. A great thing that we can start doing now, that you guys can start doing now, respond to people on Insta story. I know that sounds so trivial, guys, and like so dumb. I know the businesses and the other vendors that respond to me the most on Insta story. Like I know them, even though I've never met them before. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Jessica again, or oh my gosh, it's Devin again. Like I know the people that talk to me the most. Granted, Devin, I've met you, but I know the people that talk to me and interact with me on Instagram. And I like that. It shows that they're genuine. It shows that they actually want to work with me. And they're not responding and pitching like, hey, I have a styled shoot idea, let's do it. They're just genuinely saying like, oh my gosh, girl, me too. I posted that I've been craving cereal in my pregnancy, and I had so many people DM me that like either they loved cereal and they weren't pregnant, or they had craved cereal in their pregnancy too. And it was like some silly little common bond that we could start building, but it builds momentum in terms of our relationship. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's that girl. She loves cereal too. And then she reaches back out to me down the road. We've already formed a relationship. So start to think about not only how you can build momentum with your Instagram, right? With sharing behind the scenes and showing perception is reality, showing that you are busy, showing that this is the work that you're doing and all the behind the scenes that you're working on, but also think about ways you can build momentum with those vendor relationships that you hope to cultivate. I hope that's helpful, Jessica. Definitely let me know. Devin, sorry if I missed. Oh, hold on, Devin. Let me make sure. Morgan, perfect. Rebecca, perfect. Devin, let me circle back to yours because Linda's is on building momentum too, and then we'll pop back up to yours. Linda, I actually have momentum. I guess I should say I'm afraid to make the next step and up my prices. Okay, I feel you. Pricing is terrifying. How to keep momentum once jumping into prices, or is it just that I'm afraid to take the leap and lose potential clients? I think it's a mixture of both. Real talk with that. You're always going to be scared when you first raise your prices. I think that's just the nature of the game. And if you're not afraid when you're raising your prices, there's probably something wrong. And we're probably almost a little too confident in our business. I think that there needs to be a healthy amount of fear when we raise those prices, because we are doing something different. We're testing the market. Two things to remember with raising your prices. One, there will always be, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to word that. That was my weird, awkward pause. There's typically a lull period. I tell my coaching clients 3 months. That's what I even talk with my girls in our On the Road to Full-Time program when we talked about pricing. I say that there can be a 3-month lull in raising your prices before it takes the market to catch up with you. And what I mean by that is literally every single time I've raised my prices, it's been between 60 and 90 days after raising them that I start to get the traffic again that I was getting before my packages got raised. That's normal. That's standard. Don't freak out. Give yourself the 60 to 90 days. So make sure that your business, before you raise them, that you're at a financial point where you can say, you know what? Okay, I'm good. So if I don't book anything, if no client books me for the next 90 days, I'm okay financially because I have other payments coming in from past bookings, or my savings nest egg is high enough, whatever that might be for you. But make sure that you can give yourself that 60 to 90 day period to start to build that momentum with this new pricing structure. Also, figure out, and this is going to be, I don't know your specific business, Linda, so it'll depend. For me, I never raised my prices, and this is just my personal preference. Okay, I'll throw this out there. Personal preference. I never raised my packages more than $500 at a time. Because for me, I get a lot of referrals, whether it's, from those photographers and venues like I was talking about, but even from past brides, maybe their bridesmaid or their sister, things like that. So I wanted to be in that ballpark. I didn't want to all of a sudden double my prices and get into a totally different market and then no longer be able to still accept the referrals from the vendors and the clients that I had already built momentum with. Totally personal preference. I know that there are some business owners out there that will just say, okay, I'm booked. I have hit my quota for the year. I'm going to go in and double my prices and just see if a bride bites. More power to them. That is awesome. That is just not my pricing structure. So I try to not go any higher than $500 each package so that I'm still in that referral range. But I'm not too high or too low. Third thing with pricing, I think I only said I was going to tell you 2 things, but I'm going to tell you one more thing because I just thought of it. The third thing with pricing is after that 60 to 90 day period, if you still feel like there's a lack of momentum, with the new pricing structure, think about, okay, does this put me in a new market? So for example, with wedding planning, my company, we actually specialize in day of coordination. I love day of coordination. I'm like a weird wedding planner that way. I don't like full planning brides. This 2018, I don't have any full service planning clients. We're really focusing in on the fact that we specialize in day of coordination. So for me, I am very, very careful about my market and about how my pricing structure looks. I know that in the market that I am, based on the referrals that I receive and the venues that I work with, the other vendors that I work with, if my day of package gets higher than $2,800, I'm no longer going to receive bookings from those brides because I've now jumped into a totally different market. I need to reach out to totally different vendors and start building momentum in a very separate way. So I know that about my market, and I'm very cautious about that when it comes to my pricing structure of that package. So with being a photographer specializing newborn, maternity, family, try to understand just market research. Okay, if my family sessions are at, it's $800 and they receive X, Y, Z, and I'm just throwing a number out there. I have no idea. I'm sorry, I'm not a photographer, but say it's $800 or $1,000 or $1,500. If you then raise that $1,500 package to $2,500 package, is that A, raising it too much? Should you only go from 15 to $2,000? And B, does that put you in a totally different market? So think through those things when you're looking at raising your prices. And when in doubt, raise them and test it out, knowing that you're going to give yourself that 60 to 90 day grace period, and you're going to have income coming in from past clients or from other revenue streams. So you're not going to stress out if you don't book a client in that 60 to 90 day period. I hope that was helpful, Linda. I know it's kind of long-winded, but pricing tends to be long-winded when it comes to building momentum. So let me know if that was helpful. Okay, I saw one more question from Devin. I'm going to answer that, and then we'll end our time together. This was fun. Devin, sorry if I missed this, but I'm curious the best ways to get monetary sponsorships. Is that common? I know in your conference bundle, you have that as an option. Is there a good way to encourage that option in a sponsorship? That's a great question. So for sponsorships for our conference, we have multiple different sponsorship tiers available, like options available. We are so grateful for all of our sponsors, whether it's a really beautiful swag bag item that we get to encourage our attendees with, or maybe rentals, beautiful lounge furniture, photo booth backdrops, whatever it might be. We're really grateful for sponsorships. Some sponsorships are fully sponsored. We've had a photo booth company before, fully sponsor the photo booth. Some companies they give us a really wonderful discount that we're super grateful for in exchange for a partial sponsorship. So maybe with rentals, they're willing to do 50% off or 30% off or something like that. So there's so many different tiers to sponsorships, and it can get really intense. It's a whole nother talk in and of itself. With monetary sponsors, something that I have found, because I've done it the hard way over the last couple of years, is 2 things. One, I think it's easier and better to reach out to sponsors that you feel like are appropriate for your brand and your mission. never take on a monetary sponsor, or any sponsor in general, really. Never take on a sponsor that you don't feel like embodies your brand, which I know that sounds like, well, duh, why would I ever do that? But when someone's willing to offer you, $1,000 or $2,000 or a really wonderful discount for something, it can be very easy to say, oh, well, business-wise, this is wonderful because this is a great discount and we need this for our attendees and then we could do this. But if they're not a good fit for your brand, it can really hurt you in the end because it could potentially hurt the attendee experience. Or it could even just make it hard for your working relationship with that particular sponsor and make things very stressful. So something that we started doing was, now we reach out to monetary sponsors, and I have a list of companies, businesses that I feel like do fit our brand, that I feel like our attendees really can grow from and learn from, and that I want to see them come alongside and partner with Creative at Heart. So I reach out to them. The second thing that I always try to do with monetary sponsors is talk with them on the phone or on video chat, because monetary sponsorship is typically more money than a swag bag sponsor. And so I want to really talk through, like, okay, what can we do to help them? And just like, what can they do to help us? So they really do feel like it's a partnership versus a credit card exchange. Remember, well, I know that you popped in late, Devin, but when we talked about like turning clients into raving fans or upping your customer service, your client experience, and making sure that your clients feel that they're valued and loved. That's exactly what we want to do, even with our sponsors, is making sure that they feel really valued and really loved. So a great way to encourage people to step into that monetary role is typically we're reaching out to them. Like, I'm reaching out and pitching it. Like, I'm asking to hop on the phone. I'm asking to do a Google Hangout so that we can talk about our sponsorship opportunities, and then really building that relationship, cultivating that relationship in that way.